I suppose you could say my life story is very unusual, yet it is very ordinary. I am Mary, the mother of Jesus. Of course you have heard about me, but what is special in my life is not what I did, but what God did for me and through me. It all started in the small village of Nazareth in Galilee. I was already engaged to Joseph, a carpenter, a good, honest, hard-working man. The marriage ceremony had not yet taken place, but according to the custom, we were seen as belonging to each other. One day I received a strange message. It was obvious that it was coming from God. The words spoken to me in God's name were surprising and disturbing. I heard, "Rejoice, Mary, for you are highly favored. The Lord is with you." I was deeply upset by these words and kept asking myself what they meant. You must remember that I was just an ordinary village girl. I knew that God is great and all-powerful, and I prayed to Him as my people the Jews always did. But I never thought that He would ask something of me. And that is exactly what He did. He asked me to be the mother of His Son. I was told that I would become pregnant. Joseph and I were not yet living together, so I did not understand. But that was not what God had in mind. I was told that the Holy Spirit would come upon me and that the child I would bear would be God's child. I was also told of my cousin Elizabeth, who had conceived a child in her old age. She, whom people called barren. That was really extraordinary. But I was told that nothing is impossible with God. So what could I do? If it pleased God to look upon me with such great mercy, I could only accept what He had in mind for me. So I simply said,
"I am the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be done unto me as pleases Him."
First there was the birth of Jesus. As you know, the time for Jesus to be born came when Joseph and I were on a journey to be registered for the census. Since Joseph came from the house of David, we had to go to Bethlehem. As you can understand, it was very difficult for us to find a room in a place crowded with people on the move. Joseph tried his best to get us a place. We knocked on many doors, but the only shelter we could get was in the hills. It was a place where the shepherds took their animals when the weather was bad. This was where Jesus was born. 40 days later, Jesus was born. 40 days later, we brought Jesus to the temple according to the law of Moses. There were two elderly people there, Simeon and Anna, and the words they spoke were mysterious to me. They said that my son Jesus had come for the salvation and downfall of many. Later, Simeon added that a sword would pierce my heart. I did not know then how painful this could be. Jesus was a good child, obedient to Joseph and to me. But one day, he did something that really upset us. He was 12 years old at that time, a young man already in Jewish society. We had gone to Jerusalem for the annual pilgrimage. When the ceremonies ended, we left the city thinking that Jesus was with a group of our friends. But when night time came, we could not find him anywhere. We looked for him for 3 days. Can you imagine how worried we were, Joseph and I? We walked back all the way to Jerusalem, asking people along the way if they had seen him. No one knew of him. Finally, on the 3rd day, we found him in the temple. He was with the teachers of the law, asking and answering questions. When I asked him why he had done this to us, my question received an answer that was very puzzling. He said, "Why did you look for me? Did you not know that I must be at my Father's business?" I knew that he did not mean Joseph. But what was his father's business? I did not know. He came back with us to Nazareth, and he worked with Joseph in the carpentry shop. Till one day he left the house for good. He was about 30 years of age by then. He moved about through towns and villages, speaking about God whom he called his Father. People came from all over the country to meet him. They brought with them people suffering from all kinds of illnesses, and he cured them. At times, he even raised people from the dead. He never refused help to anyone. But I knew he had many enemies. The leaders of our people, especially the Pharisees, were against him. It was obvious that they were jealous of him because so many people were following him. I was aware that they were trying to trap him in all kinds of ways, and one day they succeeded. They paid one of his 12 disciples to tell them where they could find Jesus at night time in the Garden of Gethsemane. That was where they arrested him. Later I heard that they beat him, spat on his face, put a crown of thorns on his head, and laughed. That was when I knew what the sword piercing my heart really meant. The mothers among you will understand what I went through when they took his body down from the cross and I received it. Yes, he had said that he would come back to life, but that was something I did not really understand. I did not understand either why God had allowed this to happen to his son, to my son. But God is God, and I kept trusting that if this was his way, it was the best way. On the 3rd day, I knew I had been right in trusting, for Jesus, my son, was alive again. There are times in life when everything seems dark and without meaning. We feel alone in the world, and it seems as if God Himself has abandoned us. My son has known that, and I have too. Whenever it is Good Friday in your heart, just remember that for you also there will always be a Resurrection Sunday.